In this video, we are looking at two fantastic IEMs in the $300 price range. The first one is the Kinera Hodur. You guys can see Kinera Hodur. This is one of the most underrated IEMs in the $300 price range. Kinera back then were making some IEMs in the mid range, but when they introduced the Hodur, it I don't know how, but flew under the radar of nearly everyone else. It was one of the most budget friendly EST based IEMs. It has one DD, one BA, and one EST drivers, priced at $300. The other one that I have here is the ThieAudio Hype 2. This one is a very interesting IEM too. It has two dynamic drivers and two BA drivers that take care of the whole spectrum, and it is a more balanced and a more complete sounding IEM when compared to the Kinera Hodur, which is a W-shaped IEM. If we compare the cable, the Hodur ships with a slightly more colorful and more funky looking cable, but has a modular plug, which is giving the flexibility to use it with various sources, while the Thai audio has a more classic kind of cable with good cores. It looks nice, but there is no modularity here. So yeah, it isn't exactly up to the standard when it comes to the cable. But if we talk about the sound quality and stuff, the Hype 2 is slightly having the edge. Let's have a look at the build quality and stuff. Kinera Hodur has a metal shell and is slightly more concentrated and can feel slightly heavier. But if we look at the size, I think three Kinera Hodur can fit inside a Hype 2. So yeah, this one has an EST driver, yet it is very comfortable inside the ear. If we look at the length and everything, the Hodur is a lot more comfortable than the Hype 2. But as you guys can see, this cable guide is a bit aggressive and can feel slightly uncomfortable after 2-3 hours of listening session, while this cable guide is a lot more relaxed and doesn't exert any pressure on the ear. So yeah, the Hype 2 is slightly more comfortable with its semi custom kind of shell, while the Hodur is a lot more comfortable if you have smaller ears and does not have listening session over 2-3 hours. So size wise and comfort wise, I'll give it to the Hype 2, even though it is a bit more bigger than the Hodur is not very comfortable, while this one is very comfortable. If we start with the sound quality, this one is a W-shaped IM. The Hodur is a W-shaped IM, while the Hype 2 is a lot more balanced. It doesn't try to deliver a lot more bass or mid forward kind of forward vocals or anything, and the treble is nicely balanced. I have to say, this is one of the most well balanced IM I have ever tried in last couple of years. While the Hodur is not very W shaped, but yes, there is a bit of lack of energy in the lower mids and at the lower treble region, which kind of feels uh, fairly W shaped. If we talk about bass, the Hodur is not lacking bass, but it doesn't have the amount of extension that the Hype 2 has. What Hype 2 does is it has fantastic rumble, very good rumble, and very good sub bass extension. While the Hodur is not that well extended, what it makes up with is very good mid bass. It's not like the Hype 2 is lacking mid bass, but yes, Hype 2 is a lot more rounded. Okay, its sub bass is very good, its mid bass is fantastic, and the layers and everything is very similar with both of these two. This one, though, is slightly lacking with dynamics. If we talk about hitting the upper bass notes cleanly, it isn't exactly great there, but the Hodur is a bit more capable in the dynamic range, and it kind of hits the upper bass notes cleanly without any issues. But yes, the slight lack of sub bass extension and rumble is not doing it any favors, while the Hype 2 is slightly more improved and a bit more complete, a bit more wholesome sounding than the Hodur. If we talk about mid range, I was kind of surprised to see that the dual BA drivers of the Hype 2 weren't that aggressive as the single BA driver of the Hodur. Okay, the Hodur has a bit more finishing energy. Okay, the transparency and stuff are a bit on the higher side with the Hodur, with very good clarity. If you can handle the energy, the finishing energy with both male and female vocals, Hodur has the amount of details, has the amount of clarity and transparency we all look for. But yes, it can be slightly tiring if you are not looking for that kind of details. I have to mention that it can get a bit more edgy. Okay, how? Let me tell you. What happens with the Hodur is that the notes are a bit more rigid. They are not softened. Okay, so when a note from the Hodur hits, it kind of feels it is forced. That is where the subtlety comes into play. This one is not that subtle. It is a bit more on the face and can feel slightly tiring, a bit more on the face. While the Hype 2 has the subtlety, it doesn't have the extra bit of finishing energy of the Hodur. It is a lot more calmer without lacking texture or resolution. So the Hype 2 isn't on the face, doesn't sound like it is trying a bit too much to deliver you the details, yet delivering the details without much issues. Very good clarity, very good finishing, very good resolution and definition. And yes, the Hype 2 doesn't have the height of the notes that the Hodur has. Hodur has the extra bit of transparency and height of the notes of the Hodur is much more taller than the ThieAudio Hype 2. So if you want a, a lot more details, very good clarity and stuff, then definitely go for the Hodur, or else the Hype 2 is very well tuned with very good synergy and stuff with a slightly smoother presentation. If we talk about treble, that is where the Hype 2 doesn't really pull ahead. It is a lot more calmer, very well tuned even. It is calm yet agile, and the sonics make the treble of the Hype 2 fantastic. It has very good transient effects, and the movement of instruments and the airy feeling is fantastic. Very good, very airy sounding IEM. While the Hodur is, as I said, it kind of is a bit rigid, and the separation of back and foreground instruments isn't exactly great with the Hodur. It doesn't have that subtlety, and that kind of feels slightly harsh when it comes to treble. It is very good when it comes to clarity, technicalities, and definition. The transparency is a lot more higher, and the energy, even the extension of the Hodur is much better than the Hype 2. Hype 2 doesn't have that kind of extension that the Hodur has. And if you are a triple head, you will love it, because the pace, the speed this IM can maintain is not possible with the Hype 2. Hype 2 can get slightly swayed with its musical tuning, while the Hodur can take on high paced music like heavy metal, rock, and even trance and house. There are no issues when it comes to the capability of keeping up with them. It has excellent definition and resolution when it comes to treble. So if you are someone who can handle that kind of treble, slightly uh, lack of subtlety, the separation of back and foreground is not an issue for you, then the Hodur is a fantastic IEM to consider. There is one thing I forgot to mention here. In the mid range for the vocals, there is a bit of issue with the Hype 2. It kind of feels like the vocals are placed a bit too closer to the head. Okay, it kind of feels like things are, especially the vocals, are not that well spread. That is the issue with the Hype 2 staging. While the Hodur is a lot more even, it doesn't feel like there is some lack of concentration at any point. So Hodur is a lot more even when it comes to instrument and vocal presentation, while the Hype 2 can feel like the vocals are placed a bit too closer to the head, while the treble has a lot of air, a lot of sonics and stuff. The movement is very airy and it kind of feels a lot more cleaner. This one kind of kills the treble notes a bit too early. That subtlety is not there. That movement of something from a higher pitch to a lower pitch is not exactly available with the Hodur. It kind of feels slightly monotonous. Or else, both are fantastic IEMs. Hodur is a detail hog, while this one is a lot more pleasing, slightly musically tuned IEM. Both are excellent when it comes to details and presentation. No issues there. While this one is a lot more transparent, this one is slightly on the, not slightly, a bit more on the musical side with very good sub bass and very good rumble. Its dual DDs are working fantastically, while this one has its EST power and BA. If you want clarity, you really do not need to look for anything else. The Hodur has it. So this is it, guys. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Enjoy.